Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. I would like to call this meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections and Registration to order, and the time is 3:01. At this time, I'd like to invite all who are willing and able to rise for the pledge. Thank you, everyone. Our first order of business is the approval of the agenda. And Michael, I believe we have one agenda item to add. I would like to propose that we add to new business the approval of the advance in-person voting schedule for the Congressional District 14 special election. That's the amendment I have. Does anybody else have anything to add? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Reggie. And all those in favor? And the motion carries. The agenda is approved 5-0. Thank you all. Next up is public comment. And I'm going to pass that over to Daniel.
Good evening and welcome to 2026 elections business. I want to just remind everybody in the audience for public comment that looks like we've got 5 people signed up in person. And after our recent adoption of the public comment policy, I think it's a good idea to remind everybody we've now shortened the individual comments to 2 minutes per speaker, and the comments will be made up here at the podium. We want to make sure this is a limited public forum and the topics to be discussed should be relevant to elections in Cobb County, so we do ask that you keep your comments related to election matters within Cobb County. And a reminder that it's not really a back and forth with the board. It's really just a chance for the public to make comment, as the name implies. So I will keep time over here, and you should have a timer over there that you can see. And I'll just move through the list. The first speaker we have on the list is Andy Kingery.
Good afternoon. Pardon me. Good afternoon and Happy New Year, Board. I'm Andy Kingery. I live in Cobb County, obviously, but Elizabeth 01 is my precinct, so I'm a little bit north. I came before you today. I wasn't going to speak, but I do feel it was put on my heart that you guys are getting ready to select a new director for the elections office. I've been working for the past couple of years fairly closely with the people that work there, that have run the place and watched their operation. They have been extremely kind, very helpful, and have shown me things I had no idea went on with elections. And I know that some of the new board members may be learning some of those new things as well. Tate, I say, did a wonderful job. Bless her heart. She taught me a bunch, and I knew nothing. During that time, I worked with Michael Dietrich when he was in the prep center, and he took extra pains to show me why they did everything, not just what they were doing, why, and why it can become a problem if they don't do it that way. What I'm saying to you is you're going to have an opportunity to meet people from across the country. You're going to interview folks that have credentials, wonderful credentials. I would hope that you would consider Michael for the position to keep the continuity of that office going forward. Tate had challenges, big number of elections, did a very good job. Michael stepped in and they didn't lose a beat. Same number of crazy elections, but they handled it. And whenever there was a problem, I could call Michael and he would get back to me as soon as he could. And I appreciate that very much. I'm asking you to consider him from my vantage point. I think it would be a good choice, not even knowing the other candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kingery. Christine Rosman is next, and I owe Miss Christine an apology because I think I took the parking spot she was going forward. So next time, honk at me and I'll let you have the spot. So I'm sorry, Ms. Rossman.
Hello, Chair and Elections Board. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to burst out there, but 2 minutes for speaking is almost ridiculous. It's like, talk about wanting to quash the voice of the citizen. I mean, it went from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and now we're down to 2. I hope that you allow us to speak, continue to speak. Anyway, I'm sorry, I think, and it's like, why isn't anybody here? Because we have election fatigue, because there are so many elections, and it's so hard to keep up with everything. And one of the things that are hard to keep up with happen to be the staffing of poll workers, because you have all these poll workers that have some momentum, that have been doing this for years, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we don't want you in East Cobb anymore. We want you over in Austell or in Mableton. So why disrupt? Why disrupt? Why, when you have people that now know their job, they have this part-time job, they're doing it, they kind of have some momentum, they know the system, and then you put a juggernaut in it and make it pretty darn difficult for the manager to be able to have competent workers. So anyway, I don't know who is in charge of that, but it just doesn't even seem to make sense. If my proximity is close to something, I should be able to, or to a precinct, I should be able to work there. So you have also is that it's almost like a guarantee to be less efficient, and any gains that you made, not only with the staff and the volunteers and the manager, but also with the community. I go to Publix and it's like, oh, I haven't seen you down at Marietta 6B lately. Are you not, so you have community. You put a juggernaut into that. I don't know who's making decisions like that, but I know that it's affecting both Democrat and Republican volunteers and workers. And newsflash, people ain't trusting the government anymore, so you might want to kind of clean it up a bit.
Thank you, Ms. Rosman. Our next speaker is Garland Favorito.
All right, thank you, Board. My name is Garland Favorito. I'm the co-founder of Voter GA, stands for Voters Organized for Trusted Election Results in Georgia. And I'm just, y'all are currently doing some open records request processing for us, and I'm here. I guess I want to second the gentleman's comments at the beginning. We have just been thrilled with the staff. Michael and Debbie have been proficient. They've been courteous. They've explained every single thing to us. Just have been over backwards to do everything they can. And we're working through a couple issues. This is new around the state. We're working on a new law, open records request law that just came into effect this year, or I guess that was last year now, since we're in January. And we have a couple technical glitches we're working through, but it's just, they've just been a pleasure to work with. I want to thank Michael, I want to thank Debbie, and also just commend them to the board that they've just done a terrific job for us. And so I guess I'll have to second the gentleman's comment. I think you should consider them for your future director.
Thank you, Ms. Favorito. Our next speaker is Tamara Favorito. Tamara?
I'm Tamara Favorito, also with Voter GA, and I just want to continue the positive sentiments. I am working with Garland on this open records request that we've asked of the county. We realize it's not a small thing, scanning all of the primary ballots from 2022 and then going to 2020 absentee ballots. But we started first of last week, and Debbie and Michael have been so helpful. The teams that are scanning the ballots all day have been very helpful. They're very, very diligent. And I just wanted you to know that other counties have not been as helpful. they've been much more expensive and made observation of the scanning process very difficult. So please know that the elections office is doing a great job, and we so appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Favorito. And our last speaker signed up for this afternoon is Beth Hendricks.
Happy New Year to the board and the staff, and thank you as always. I would like to echo a lot of the same positive things. I've been working with vote protection in Georgia since really 2020, a little bit before that, and I have learned more from really every poll worker, poll manager, any staff in any county that I've worked in, which has mostly been here. And that started with, under Tate's direction, has continued under Michael's. Every single person through 9 elections, through, I can't even tell you how many overtime hours, I'd be surprised if they've finished counting those yet, has been positive. And it didn't matter if we were on hour 14 of the day or the first hour of the day when they got there. So I would like to echo any continuity that we can keep, however that's done, and I appreciate the board's consideration for all of the things that they have had to do, and you're putting out the job description and the task that's ahead of you. So thank you all.
Thank you all. Next up is the public hearing regarding, I think, Daniel, we just need the motion. Do you want to?
Yeah, it's on as a public hearing, but really it's, there was a discussion of it at the last meeting, and because the changes are actually made by the city and then recommended by this board to the county, the process is really, the public hearing, I guess, originally would have been within the city of Marietta, and they may, I'm not sure how it's listed on the county agenda, but this board doesn't really need to have a hearing, but that's where it's listed, so it's fine to do it that way, and I don't mind if people have comments on it. But just as a reminder, this is the motion to approve the precinct boundary changes that really ideally would have been in effect for the municipals this fall, but because of delays in redistricting and getting it implemented because of the many, as has been mentioned, the many elections that occurred in what was supposed to be an off year for elections last year. These precinct changes had to wait until we got through running the municipals and the runoffs for those elections. So this was the earliest opportunity we could do that. And this board's job is really just recommending, because in counties with over 400,000 individual, or 400,000 citizens, I guess it is residents, I can't remember if it's voters or residents, but it's 400,000 citizens, I think, population of over 400,000. The county commissioners act as the superintendent in terms of approving precinct, only on that specific issue. So this board, yeah, we just need a motion basically to approve, recommend approval to the Board of Commissioners.
Daniel, do we need to open it to public hearing or just a motion?
You know, it's not required, but because it's listed as one, you can ask if anybody wants to speak on those changes.
Does anyone want to speak on the changes to the Marietta precinct boundaries? All right, great. Do
I have a couple of questions
go for it.
before we make a motion, just so I'm understanding them. I'm all for uniformity on maps, but considering these came from the city, not us, I guess I am at the wrong meeting complaining. But I noticed on MR, is it 7? Hold on, sorry. 3B, what are the yellow things? Have they inserted other precincts in the middle of a precinct? It appears that way. Old MR1A, I don't know what that means. I find the map very confusing. And I guess it's also on 4A.
You said Marietta 3 Bravo, correct?
Yes, 3 Bravo.
Yeah, so the highlighted yellow portions, I don't know if I don't think CP has the maps. The yellow portions are what what was added into that precinct. As you can see with the little captions and the arrows that point to them explain that previously it was a part of Marietta 2 Bravo or 1 Alpha, and now we're moving those to align with how the city would like them. So essentially how we conducted the elections is we just pooled those combos. They still voted at their regular precinct, however, that precinct may have now been 3 and they're voting for 7 at 3. Does that make sense? But to answer your question, I'm not sure why this highlighted one that's 17,140, why that wasn't a part of it in the first place, why that was a part of Marietta 2B, I'm not sure. But that is what this is.
So does it remain 2B?
No, it becomes Marietta 3B.
And so does 17151?
Correct. All of the
And
3,
17213.
or the 4, excuse me, the 4 highlighted areas would become 3 Bravo.
And
Okay.
Debbie, I'm a little more familiar with the Marietta
Of
maps.
course you are. Yeah.
Well, and I don't.
You can explain it.
No, and what you can see is that the boundaries of the new MR3B are going to be inside the blue. And so,
Are you red-green colorblind?
well, no, I'm talking about the blue lines.
Oh, okay.
I'm not aware that I am. But the yellow is actually what 2 used to be. That used to be sort of the color for different ones, but I don't know that was carried over. But what this is basically saying is like this that used to be in Marietta 2B is now inside the blue border. Same thing for these 3 pieces that used to be in old Marietta 1A. They're now within Marietta 3B. So it's just noting where the shifts occurred from the old ones. And my guess is this was helpful for staff when they were doing these maps. And you're seeing like the district combos listed there. And so they're noting these are now in 3B, but when they were doing the maps, for the election, in other words, they needed to be able to know in the last election, even though this one in November was still Marietta 2B, its district combo needed to be counted for Marietta 3B. So these were noted from that, and they're just noting those old portions are now moving in here. It probably could have been cleaned up to just show the solid color, but they were on there still from when they were using them for the November election.
So we actually have a portion of 3B that is not contiguous with 3B. So that's a 17212. That little finger over there to the right. You've got the white.
Well, no, that's it's contiguous.
You said inside the blue, so
Yes.
there's
Well,
several blue.
it,
I think we need to clean up this map. How about let's just say that and make it all one color, remove the arrows, because if I'm a normal voter, I would be very confused if I lived in these yellow districts.
right. Well, and I just want to point out that it's not that it doesn't have to be contiguous. It would if it was just like an annexation or something like that, but that's not what this is. This is just noting that this is in 3, and this is county property that's in white there, back there on Booth Road and in that area, that county actually still snakes through there. And it's contiguous to the extent that it jumps across county property. In fact, that may even be the Fair Oaks property or something back there. I'm not sure, but regardless, that it's contiguous to the extent it would touch, but for either the right-of-way right there or for the county property. So, but yes, I mean, I agree. This was probably just left over from the 2025, and it could have been cleaned up. I would not recommend bringing them back in a month. I mean, I think they're on the commission meeting for tomorrow, and they just need to move forward so that it can go ahead and get implemented. Ideally, yes, you would like, the maps to be a little cleaner, but this helps people know, well, I used to vote in MR2B because I lived on Booth Circle here, but now I'm in MR3B, is because this whole district that's anything that's highlighted in green or yellow is now part of 3B. Same thing would go for like the next page on MR4A. They have the same notes for things that used to be 3A or 5B. You kind of go all the way through, like areas that used to be in formerly this district. And those voters would know they're now in, 4C or whatever the new.
Well, my only concern is the BOC. If I'm confused, and I'm probably a little more schooled in looking at maps and redistricting, no offense to our commissioners, but if I'm confused, I'm afraid they're gonna be confused. And then you get into the other maps for 5B, which are pink and yellow instead of green and yellow, and pink and green instead, pink, green, and yellow, very Easterish. Pink, green, and yellow. So I just don't want to have these presented tomorrow and there be confusion. So maybe a brief paragraph stating.
Sure. Yeah, I want to mention we had some issues with our map editing because our GIS analyst has been on leave for some time now. So we've been actually borrowing a GIS analyst from the library system. However, if you would like for us to update these maps to kind of reflect all one color showing its totality, we can probably easily do that. Turning around for the BOC for tomorrow, that's not feasible. However, I can say that today in work session, there were no questions surrounding these precinct changes.
Okay, so I imagine they were gonna rubber stamp them anyway. I would though, and maybe I'm the only one that wants them updated so they're a little more,
Sure, we'll take a look
Explainable.
at getting them updated and
a little
provide it
more
to you.
consistent.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the boundary changes for City of Marietta precincts by the Cobb County Board of Commissioners?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you all, and the motion carries for us to recommend the approval of the boundary changes. Next up, we are going to approve the minutes for December 2nd, December 8th, December 16th, and December 22nd. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Great. Do we want to take a motion just to approve them all?
I motion that we approve all the minutes.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the 4 sets of minutes listed on the agenda? And the motion carries 5-0. All the meeting minutes are now approved. I will pass it over to Michael for his election office reports and updates. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board. Good afternoon, and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
It seems like it's been about 3 weeks since we ended the last one, and here we are again. But it's been even quicker in the office. Everyone was trying to get their vacations and their holiday leave out of the way, and this was the first real week that we had most people back in the office, and we're getting busy with it right now. So go ahead and get started. Just a few slides. I wanted to provide the board with a staffing update. Right now, we have 8 total vacancies within the department. There are 3 positions within the prep center. 2 of those fall as part-time election coordinators, 1 in the supply side. We had 1 that decided she wanted to roll over to a seasonal role. I think voter fatigue was real. She's worked for elections for many, many years, and so she's put in her time, and she deserves a little bit of a break. So I believe she's going to roll into a seasonal position in the elections division. And we had turnover with 1 other employee that things just didn't work out the way we wanted to with her. And then, of course, with the promotion of Rosie, that freed up her previous part-time elections coordinator 2 position. So these are both posted, and we're hoping to get the interviews scheduled as soon as we get the referred candidates. Of course, in administration, we have 1 position that is the position that I'm currently in. I believe the posting closes tonight at midnight, following posting of 2 weeks. I don't know how many have applied. You guys probably know more than me, but looking forward to see what we're going to be doing moving forward. In the registration division, there are 3 vacancies, 1 part-time voter registration specialist. The applicants were referred in early December, and I believe we started to schedule. I think we had a few that no-showed on us. Yeah, so we had 2 or 3 that we scheduled, and then they didn't show up for their interview. 1 full-time voter registration specialist interview is scheduled. I'll provide an update on that whole situation. And then, of course, we have the 1 part-time GIS analyst. Right now, we have no plans to fill that. However, in light of the struggles we're having with our GIS right now, we're looking to see maybe there's a potential to temporarily fill it. I don't believe there's enough work to hire both a full-time and a part-time GIS analyst, but right now we're borrowing someone from another department, and when their work takes priority, what are we going to do? I also know in the past we discussed reclassing this position and kind of changing it into a different role within the office. I have not had a chance yet to dive into that information, but that's always a possibility. But for right now, it's a part-time GIS analyst, and we are not filling it. And then there's 1 part-time election coordinator 2 in the absentee division, specifically in absentee by mail. That position is posted and closes on the 20th. Our election schedule, starting to look a little bit like the last one, but not quite as bad. So of course, we have our March 10th special election for Marjorie Taylor Greene with a potential runoff on April 7th if needed. Likely will need it with the amount of people that are claiming they are going to qualify. There will likely be a runoff. We have May 19th for the general primary and nonpartisan elections with the potential runoff on June 16th. And then we have our November 3rd general/special if necessary, and then December 1st would be the runoff for the general. So the upcoming special election for Marjorie Taylor Greene, U.S. House District 14, is March 10th. It includes northwest portions of Cobb County with 30 precincts. There's 109,962 eligible voters. 100,909 of those voters are active. I checked right when I got here, and as of 2:30, 7 have qualified for this position. I believe it was 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat as of 2:30. So I wanted to provide some important dates for the upcoming special election. Qualifying is happening right now and will end on Wednesday, I believe at 1 p.m. They are qualifying with the state. Voter registration deadline is February 9th. The last day to apply for an absentee by mail ballot is February 27th, 2026. Early voting will start February 16th and go through March 6th. Later on, we'll vote on those, and you'll have the specifics of those dates and times. For training, advanced in person is scheduled to start on February 5th and go through the 7th. For election day, that's to be determined. However, we do know it will include the week of 2/23. They were trying to include some weekend dates to accommodate folks with other jobs, and we haven't finalized the numbers, so we're looking to get all those in this week, and then we can make a final decision on the actual training schedule for election day. And then for logic and accuracy testing, we're looking at February 3rd, 2026, with 30 precincts. I believe we were discussing about 12 BMDs per precinct, roughly a little over 300, I think it was 376, something like that. So it wouldn't take very long for testing to complete that amount. So once we get the numbers document finalized, that'll kind of solidify our dates and numbers for everything. Just wanted to provide an update on our polling location situation. So As you all know, we had a ton of co-locations last year. And because, you know, there were so many elections and a lot of these facilities just couldn't keep up with the demand, it was harder and harder for them to schedule their events, their programs, their services. So right now, we're trying to work on what does that roadmap look like, start to finish. It gets a little more complicated because the person previously involved with a lot of this no longer works for the office, and we've come to realize there wasn't really any standard operating procedures around these things. So we're kind of, I won't say we're starting from scratch, but we're basically starting brand new. And to add even more complication to it, when the prep center inherited the site survey department, the previous supervisor had a large workload associated with that work, and the folks working in site survey don't know what she was exactly doing. And so with that position rolling into the prep center, whereas before, that supervisor's sole purpose was polling locations. That's all they did. But now, since David Letts, our prep center supervisor, is in that role, he's not only taking care of all of the prep center activities, but he's also trying to figure out the polling location situation. So we've done a lot of things to kind of get the ball rolling. We've started to have a lot more conversations about, you know, it can't just be, you know, we drive by and say, oh, that's a potential location. We need to make contact with people. So I kind of created the acronym SITES, kind of to start with. So of course we need to source our locations. We need to initiate contact with the owner. We need to survey the location to ensure that it's ADA accessible and all the things that we need it to be are included. And then of course we need to evaluate the terms, negotiate, is there a cost associated with hosting us? You know, a lot of these places have event spaces, but they charge. You know, we approached one facility that's all they do is events, but they charge $1,300, and we just don't have that in our budget to pay $1,300 for a polling location. So we're looking at, you know, unique ways to kind of negotiate those prices, but we found a starting point, and now we're moving forward with that. And then, of course, once we've come to agreement, it's executing the contract with the facility. I do have a meeting with the Public Services Agency on January 16th. Basically, the parks, library, senior services, the departments within the county that we rely heavily on. I think with last year, it's just got so out of control, it's gonna be hard to sustain us just last minute figuring out, hey, we need this facility, but you're already planned a year in advance. Can you move this? Can you cancel this? So I'm hoping for a robust conversation at this meeting. Hopefully we can brainstorm enough to come up with a new, fresh way of doing this, but I just don't see how we can make it work without more people buying in to hosting us again. I've also had conversations with Dr. Gibson and Dr. McMorris about anything that they can do to help ease that burden on us on finding locations. Dr. McMorris was very open to the idea to having conversations with folks, reaching out to the superintendent for schools. She could help us in a lot of ways, but we just haven't had a chance yet to sit down to really discuss the brass tacks. But of course, once I have the conversation with them, I'm happy to share it with the board. Do you have a question?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Thank you, Michael. Do you have any idea with schools, do we have enough schools in Cobb County that have access to a secure location for voting where voters wouldn't have to come in contact with students? For example, like Lindley, I know the library is accessible where students don't have to come in. Do you have any idea? Do we have enough schools?
I don't have,
like that?
we have enough schools. However, we're previously, my predecessor had a meeting with the superintendent, and there were things discussed about slowly getting out of schools. And I believe it was a total of 20. That does not include potential ones that we're just not in yet. But because of that conversation, we stopped looking at other schools. But there are a bunch out there that we could still talk to. But we need to have that conversation with the superintendent to see what's the climate looking like now. Honestly, I don't know how we do it without schools. I believe we worked on getting out of, I think it was 9, and then there was 11 that we were staying in that had alternate entrances. But I wasn't there in the room. I wasn't a part of the conversation, so I'm kind of piecemealing information together. I will say that the superintendent's office came to our rescue on several occasions last year towards the end of the year when we had needs and there were functions going on with the schools. They made some adjustments, and so a huge thank you to the schools. But realistically, I don't know how we move on without schools. But again, that's a conversation that needs to take place, and it just hasn't yet.
Well, I just was going to say, going back to my starting on this board and back to when Janine was in the position, the trajectory has been to get out of all schools. Like, that's been the standing trajectory. And then if the schools that we are in, we provide extra security for, or we so we have sort of like it's a very, I think that we have identified the locations already that we're supposed to be getting out of and when we will be out of them. I think it's already like pretty far down the road on that policy.
Yes.
I understand. There are pros and cons. Thank you. There are pros and cons of being in schools. I see why it's an issue, but I'm just wondering, with the inventory that we have, are there enough buildings where we can make it work? And I have no idea, but I would like to find out.
Sure, I can compile all
To
that
find
data.
out if
and-
there are locations where the interests of the schools are met as well as our interests.
Sure. Yeah, I can put together that information. Again, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to put so much effort into compiling that list without having that conversation with the superintendent, if it's even an option for us at this point. However, a lot of the work is already done. You know, we know the schools, we're familiar with the area, we know who's on our wish list, who's there, who are we using, who can't we not afford to lose, or who do we have several options in that vicinity. So that's kind of the approach they're looking at right now with, you know, specifically the ones that we had co-located for last year. Of course, I had to pivot them to focus on the ones that are in House District 14 for this election, so we can make sure that we had some alternatives for those. I believe it's 5 locations that were co-located within this special election upcoming. But a lot of conversations need to take place, and I have started those conversations. And actually, if we go to the next slide.
Michael, real quick.
Yes.
About the SOPs. I know that you guys are dealing with having to recreate SOPs. Are you guys saving them or storing them in a location that's accessible to whoever might come in the office next? So if one employee leaves,
Sure.
you won't be stuck in the position you found yourself in this time.
Sure, yes. We have a kind of an overall understanding within the office that we have a secured elections G drive that is shareable with everyone that is employed in elections. And there are certain things you can and can't do. And when things get moved or go missing, it's a huge problem. But basically, you know, it's kind of a rule of thumb. If you're working on something specifically for you, it's okay to share it save it on your desktop. But if it's something for the good of all or something that multiple people are going to be working on, we share it on that shared drive. So anyone can access it as long as they have permission to access that G drive, which is kind of, if you get hired, that's part of the orientation.
And I hope that you have access to everything on the G drive, so that
Yes.
if someone leaves and no one else can access it, at least the director would have access to it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we've had a lot of talk, especially with how things have advanced technologically. There's a lot of information on that G drive that is outdated, that is not looked at, hasn't been used in a decade. So we're looking to streamline a lot of these things and move it towards we have our internal Peach Point, which is like a OneDrive. We share a lot of information, but it's way easier to navigate than having to click on 30,000 different folders just to find what you're looking for, where we can just make it more streamlined and efficient for everyone within the office. Of course, that was something we were going to try to do last year, but then we just had election after election after election. So it's still on our radar. It's something that got pushed to the back burner, but it's still something that would be a huge asset to our office to kind of move forward with. But to answer your question, yes, I have access to everything, and all the folks that are in the office have access to it, unless they just don't have permissions to access the G Drive.
Excuse me, I just got a text message. Is this streamed on YouTube now? Someone says it's waiting. Okay, it's on. Thank you.
And I think when I
It's
looked at-
mislabeled, I think. It says procurement. It is corrected now, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so with the polling locations, these are the 5 that are a part of Congressional District 14 that currently do not have a facility. So Kennesaw 4A, previously co-located with Kennesaw 3A and Ben Robertson. Kemp 02 was with Oregon 01 and Loving Good Middle. Lost Mountain 04, previously with McClure and McClure Middle. Mars Hill 01, it was previously with Durham 01 and Durham Middle. And North Cobb 01, which was with Ackworth 1C and North Cobb Senior Center. Of course, there's 3 schools again. I believe Durham is one of the ones that we should be getting out of. I believe it's a shared entrance. With McClure, I can't remember if there's a separate entrance for McClure, and the same with Loving Good Middle. But the site survey team has offered several options for me. We've started communicating with a couple of the suitors, but we have not gotten to a point where we can execute a contract yet. But that's really the goal of this week is to get those done. Of course, we'll have to vote on moving locations or co-locating if there's no fruit of this labor. And then, of course, we have to notify the voters via mail with those changes. But we've already started working on pooling all of that data, so whatever the outcome is, if we're finding a new permanent or temporary location, or we're co-locating again like we did last year, it should be a quick turnaround. The next day, we could have that stuff to the vendor and in the mail within a couple of days, depending on when the board would vote on that.
So these five precincts their co-location, their temporary co-location expired on 12/31.
That's correct, at the end of the year.
We do not have new replacement permanent facilities, but could we continue to co-locate?
We can continue to co-locate because they are already polling facilities.
Okay.
Now, of course, for how much longer, I don't know. That's the conversation with the schools that we have to have. But as far as these 5 are concerned, there is no problem with co-locating them again like we did for last year.
Because my inclination, since I know we have to notice for 2 weeks, and March 10th is close, I mean, this is sort of up for everybody, but I mean, in terms of giving you direction, we've got a 2-week notice, we've got to get together as a board to have a special called meeting, and then notices go out. So
Yes.
in my mind, what might be best for the voters in this particular election instance is to continue with these, no, it's not my favorite option.
Sure.
But would be to continue with these co-locations in a temporary basis so that we don't move the voters somewhere else temporary to then move them again somewhere else permanent this year.
Sure.
I just want to bring that up with the board to see if there's any other thoughts, and we can give you direction so that you don't necessarily need to spin your wheels finding a permanent location or another temporary.
Michael, could you provide us with the number of active voters in both of the precincts that are co-located? You don't have to do it now.
Yeah, I don't have it right now, but
We
I
aren't
can
voting on
definitely.
anything on this today, right? But if you could just send us, it would be helpful to know how many, actually voter turnout in the past election might be
Sure.
more useful, not the total number of voters, but maybe from the 24 election, if we could get the number of voters from each precinct in the co-located locations, That would be helpful. If I recall, in 2022, we had almost as big a turnout as we did in the presidential election.
That sounds about right.
I think so. So it's not like we're going to be backing off on the numbers, I don't think. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can certainly provide those. And again, you know, but I'm more concerned with finding a permanent solution, so
Yeah.
we're not having to do this, but it's a little more complicated than just asking somebody to host us.
Was any previous work done on finding permanent? Because
Yes,
there was. Okay.
yes. So it's kind of been ongoing all last year, of course.
I thought I remembered Tate saying that she was working on it.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversations of consolidating precincts, and, you know, we have these clusters of precincts that, you know, they're next door to each other, or within a mile radius, we have 4 locations. It's my understanding we were told to not move forward with consolidating. And so that kind of put us at a standstill with finding new ones. And then I think where the ball was dropped the most was I was trying to figure out what's the next step, and Site Survey was trying to figure out what's the next step, and we with all the elections that were going on, we just never sat down to say, okay, what's the next step here? But we've had these conversations now, and we've kind of understand what we need to do moving forward, and how there's a little bit of change and evolution in the position in itself, because previously the position that was handling this, that's all they did. I mean, maybe they did some other things too, but with David now being the supervisor of the prep center as a whole, he doesn't have just, the sole thing can't be identifying poll locations. So we're just trying to find that happy medium between what is Site Survey going to do, what is the supervisor going to do, and how can I assist them in this scenario on moving the ball along. But like I said, we have several alternatives. I know for at least 3 of these locations that I've set eyes on, I believe Kennesaw 4A and Kempo 2 are the ones that I'm waiting on. But, you know, we call, we swing by, sometimes they're not there. It's a lot of phone tag with the churches. It's a lot of phone tag with any of these facilities that are just not open every day for regular business, which a lot of these locations like churches, they're not there all the time. So we're also talking about working overtime, you know, that they'd have to go in and work on the weekend. So we talked about, you know, kind of flexing schedules. So, you know, you're not working, you know, 2 days during the regular work week, but then we open up time so we can, you know, make visits and drop by facilities over the weekend where there might be staff there. But like I said, it's a lot of, we call, no answer, we swing by, no answer, we email, there's a response, then we call, and then there's no answer. So it's just, it's a lot of information to manage. And I think with a couple of ideas we have,
Can I ask you 2 other quick questions?
Sure.
Okay, so this is 5 of the 30, so there's 25 other precincts. Have the 25 other committed to hosting for?
We have permanent solutions for some of them, but not all of them. I don't know what off the top of my head, how many, but yes, we have solutions to some of the others.
So in terms of this board determining when to sort of like set that special call to deal with these, do you have any kind of estimate of do you have a set sort of goal or calendar timeline for when you want to sort of make the call?
My goal was, if we cannot find new locations by the end of this week, then we're going to ask to revert back to co-location.
Okay, so that's for these 5, and then
That's
what
correct.
about for the other 25? Those are still,
Yeah.
do you know how many of those are nailed down yet, or no?
I don't know specifically. I know we have several that actually have been consistently following up with us, like, hey, you know, we're really interested in doing this. I wish that was the case for a lot more, but I don't have off the top of my head how many of those are. But of course, as we get through this election and we're moving toward the primaries where it's going to be county-wide, we're going to have to make a decision then and there on if we're going to co-locate or what's our next avenue.
So I think my ask would be sort of in the same vein as Debbie said, but I think we really just need a list of the precincts impacted, active registered voters in those precincts, or voter turnout, whatever's easier to combine with, and sort of where that status is, whether or not they have a permanent location or not, so that we have an understanding of sort of what that time frame,
Sure.
how many we're dealing with and what we're noticing, and actually how many voters are impacted by precinct changes.
Sure.
I think that'll help inform our decision in terms of how we move forward, because if we have to notice the majority of the, congressional district, that's a lot of voters.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that we are properly notifying voters where they need to vote on Election Day in time. I know we
Sure.
properly do it, but in a timely fashion. And since we have a 2-week notice requirement, that gives us a crunch,
What's our drop dead date in terms of like
right? That's the-
getting?
So for
that
this election, it's this Friday. If we're looking at May, then
Well, I think this election, right?
Are you
is where-
saying
Yeah,
we need to
the-
have a special call meeting by this Friday?
No.
No.
They need to get noticed.
Oh.
yes.
They need
Okay.
to get noticed. And then we'd have the special election, or the special meeting 2 weeks after the notice.
Yeah, it has to run once for 2 weeks.
Okay,
We typically do Friday and Friday.
so we wait 2 weeks after the special meeting?
Right, which is why I'm like, it's kind of close.
Yeah.
So that's why I sort of, from a direction standpoint, was like, well, if we don't have places lined up to go permanent with these 5, we might want to stick with co-location so that we can get it noticed and all
Sure.
those
I mean,
things.
if the board is good with co-locating, I mean, we can make that decision quickly. There's no definites with finding what's going to pan out with these other potential
Yeah.
locations.
What did you need, Kendall? Say that?
And to make that decision, we need the information on eligible voters and voter turnout.
Sure.
The last two.
Great. Well, thank you. This is super helpful. I feel like understanding what we're up against in the time frame is important. So thank you.
I have a question. Does the county, I know this would be a lot to ask for, does the county have a map of the county and all of the county-owned facilities?
Yes, there is such a map. It's not very user-friendly, though. Yeah,
This is my shock face.
it's actually very, very complicated to use, which is why we rely heavily on our GIS analysts to kind of make things as we need on the fly. There are some maps actually being worked on as we speak. I know Tammy's had some meetings with ITS and GIS on creating some maps that we can kind of look at from an eagle eye perspective. It's such a large map that, condensing it down to this one thing, it makes it very not user-friendly. So we're trying to look at it by regions.
If you're looking at it through, I assume the map is in GIS, right? With
Yes,
all
that
the
would be the base, yeah.
facilities. So you could designate it by this region only,
Mm-hmm.
by this district only, and see what facilities we own. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure that anybody really knows how many facilities we truly own and have access to. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of critical too. Might shorten the search time. And then also, have we thought about getting maybe some loaner people, either from IS or some of the other departments who are data-oriented that could put some of this stuff together for us?
Sure. Yeah, I've had some conversations with Kimberly Lemley with
Have you?
ITS.
Yeah.
I've had some conversations with Jen on some things that we can do that would help. Of course, I have to have these conversations with these departments, and of course, their work is their priority, and ours is
Sure,
just kind of second.
sure.
But we're kind of getting to crunch time here, with as many elections as we're having, and not everyone's signing up. They're not running to be a part of elections anymore. I think
Surely
the
they
need
aren't
is there.
tired.
Maybe. I think I did forget one piece that we're working on, and that is somewhere on our elections website where we're going to have almost like a seamless doc or an application for folks to visit if they're interested in being a host for elections. And of course, I believe the document itself has already been created, but we just want to ensure that all the right questions are on there and that the website is functioning and all of that. So that'll be something that's happening here very soon where hopefully folks will use it, but we'll at least have something that we can tell them, you know, if you're interested, visit our website and go here versus, you know, give us a call and, you know, nothing ever really pans out. People are more likely to go to a website than they are to pick up the phone. So that's something that's in the works too, and it's supposed to be done in the month of January, so we should have that soon. And then the last slide I have is voter education plan. So Tammy's been a little under the weather. Today is her first day back in the office, so I sat down and tried to get as much information out of her as I could, and have a pretty good plan moving forward. Of course, we're still working on an overall communications plan, but I just wanted to provide the board with some updates for this quarter at least. Tammy has scheduled 3 voter outreach events within the schools, or 1 within the school, that's Pope High School. There's an event with Cobb Library for their book sale, and in April, the Spring Arts Festival. Now, of course, as the weather gets warmer, there's more and more opportunities for Tammy to, you know, get information on and try to get on the books as being a participant. But, you know, these are the things that we have as of today. As far as social media posting, she did a fantastic job last year of really growing our outreach. The plan right now is to ensure that we're posting at least 3 times a week. Then as we approach the last week of early voting, posting will occur every day. And this will include key dates, you know, frequently asked questions, more of the same. You know, we're trying to hone in on our brand and what exactly we're creating, so it just doesn't look like we're making a bunch of mumble jumble and putting it out there. We're trying to stick to a systematic approach to our posting, but also so that it makes sense with what's going on in the elections world. Currently, like I said, she's in preparation of getting on schedules for our busy season, which is, you know, the spring and the summertime when, you know, the weather's nice and a lot of people are doing more events than when it's cold in the winter. And, you know, at minimal, I asked Tammy to strive to have 2 voter outreach events per quarter. Can't promise that will happen, but that's at least the bottom line. That's the baseline that we're going to try to be at moving forward. And that is the end. Any questions?
I do have, that I was slow in getting out. I know everybody's tired of hearing me talk about the new USPS postal date stamp, but I got your email, and it's exactly what I'm worried about, because the deadline for voter registration absentee ballot deadlines, that can be affected by that postmark, because we will accept them after the postmark, right? They don't have to arrive by, it's the postmark date. And we need some kind of communication going out to our voters and to let them know and maybe, Marcus, it's something that goes in the absentee application. I don't know what the real answer is, but it's critical, in my opinion. This isn't something to poop on, say it's somebody else's job. Whose job it is on this communication, I haven't seen anything come out from the Secretary of State's office. I asked the SEB to talk about it in their meeting this month, but they said that's the Secretary of State's office. And so I guess rather than doing this, in my opinion, we need to do something.
Sure, yeah.
Because I believe if I miss that postmark date, which is highly possible with the way Palmetto is in Georgia.
Sure.
It could create some pretty big problems.
Sure. Yeah, I guess in the conversations I was having with absentee and registration, we were more focused on the impact of how we do our operations. But as far as communicating to our voters what's going on, I would be hesitant to say anything without guidance from the state. We've reached out to them several times and kind of didn't really get much information. I'm not sure if they are going to send something out or not, but I think that's where we start, is having that deeper conversation with the Secretary of State, and then maybe we can come up with an idea of what we
We
need
probably
to do.
need to get on that, because you're taking applications right now, right, for new
Yes.
voter registrations. The deadline for that, I forget what your
The 9th.
PowerPoint said. I should have written it down. And the deadline for AB registration, requests, those are critical dates, and they're coming up pretty quick.
Sure.
Sooner than we want them to.
Marcus and I will reach back out to the Secretary of State and see what we can do, and we'll go from there.
I think it's really just an issue on registrations. It's not, everything else has to be in custody by, like, it has, the mark on everything besides the voter registration is it in the custody of the Board of Elections or the superintendent by a an absentee registrar by 7 p.m. or that's for ballots, and then whatever the deadline is for the applications. It's the voter registration that's tied to that has the language around postmark. And so that's why, and that actually flows through the Secretary of State, which is why we would like guidance from them. But the reality is, like, yes, people need to be aware that if they don't, they can't really rely on, I took my registration application to the post office on this date, and it's definitely going to be postmarked on this date, and so I'll be able to vote in this upcoming election. You need to know, voters would need to know. It's not, it may get postmarked, it may not, but it may not be, there's no guarantee it's going to be on the day that you take it to the post office. And so that's only for registrations. The absentee stuff is really just around.
What is the law on the application for an absentee ballot? It's a postmark
receipt.
date, because if it's postmarked by that deadline, you can
No.
still receive that application.
It has to be received by that.
Received.
It's a receive by date on absentee
For absentee,
midnight, isn't it?
applications. It is?
yes. Now, for registration, it also says receipt, but it says receipt will be deemed to be the postmark date. But that's because it's tied to the National Voter Registration Law, which Georgia adopted. So it's the voter registration that has to worry about the postmark, but the application and the absentee stuff deals with when it's in our
That can be
possession.
affected. I mean, voters can be affected by this new,
Yeah, on the
regulation.
registration issue.
and their website, USPS website FAQ says, which is maybe part of the communication, we should get on the website, get on social media. I don't think this is something we need to put off any
Well, just think-
longer.
remember, that's a-
The FAQ,
It's this, people that register by mail is a subset of a subset of a subset of people registering. And I'm not
and
trying
I
to
guess
minimize
those don't count, do they?
it. Is that what I said? Because if I said that, it
No.
doesn't matter. I'm just saying, well, the attention that needs to be given to it is proportional to the number of people who do, the
Well,
vast,
the
vast
timing
majority of
is
people.
pretty tight too. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Or no? We have plenty of time?
I'm just giving you the information, and I'm just trying to tell you, we're talking about one issue in a subset. Most people are getting registered through means other than mailing in their application. I'm not making any commentary about what's important. I'm trying to give you a realistic, breakdown of, this is the implication about that, and the law says these are the small subset of people that are affected, so those people do need to know. But I just want to make clear that it's not, I don't want the message to be, everybody needs to be worried because your ballots might not get in. It's, if you choose to mail in your voter registration as opposed to going to the office or online or doing it through driver's services or all the other ways you can get your registration done, if you choose to fill out an application, there's people that want to do that and mail it in, yes, you need to be worried about that. But in terms of, does the public in general need to be concerned about this? I mean, yes, a small subset of the public needs to pay attention if you're going to mail
Well,
your ballot in.
whether it's 1 Daniel or 1,000, we need to have the messaging ready to go, okay? And the FAQ on the USPS website clearly states that if you have a deadline for certain things, and I assume elections would fall under that, you can go drop it off at the post office in person and ask them to postmark it for that date. So those are the kind of little tidbits. It doesn't take a long time to put together, to put on the website, to put on social media and start talking about it. Because every vote counts, every registration counts.
I just want to be clear that this is the postmark is only relative to the voter registration applications, and it is spelled out clearly in the code 212224C, where it does very clearly explain how the postmark is used, and if missing a postmark, how we actually process that. So I just want to be clear that that is actually spelled out. And I have reached out directly to Blake at the Secretary of State's office. I do know that they are planning to put something out. It is going through their own legal department, how they would like that message, but it is a statewide issue that would be impacted.
Could you share that communication with the rest of us? I've raised the issue a couple of times.
I'm just saying I did ask for that guidance. I do agree. I have been reading about this. I have done some research on my own legally, but this is the only place in the code that is defined by a postmark. All the other pieces of the puzzle that impact our voters are by received date. So I just think that's
Daniel already
important.
said that, right?
Just making sure that that's very clear for the voters, and anybody who wants to reference 212224, that would be the place that you could see how the postmark is impacted. Is there any further conversation on this? Great. We will move into old business, which we do not have any at this time. And our first item of new business is the appointment of an interim elections director. And I think, just to eliminate any confusion, Daniel, do you want to address this in the bylaws, or do you want me to?
I can, yeah,
Okay,
just as a reminder, Michael has been serving as the acting director, and upon the resignation of the former director becoming official as of the end of the year, there's now a need to for the board to appoint an interim director, and so this was the first available opportunity for that. So, yeah, under the bylaws, if there's a temporary or a planned absence, there's an acting director, and if there's a longer absence until a new director is appointed, that's the interim. So that's the process that's laid out in the bylaws, and that this is the first opportunity to make that interim appointment.
And for anybody who's looking, that's in our bylaws, section 1A, number 5. And actually, I just need a motion to appoint Michael as the interim elections director.
I motion that we appoint Michael as the interim elections director.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And all those in favor? It's unanimous. You have to stay on. Next item of new business is a discussion of our election director search process, and Stacy will take that for us.
So I've been handling the logistics of the search, so I just wanted to give everybody an update. The posting was posted for 2 weeks initially, and we've let HR know that we're going to extend it to a third week just because that is what's allowed per county HR policy. So we're just going to maximize the time that it's posted. So we've got 1 more week to go. It will be taken down next Monday night at 11:59 p.m. The posting has been shared across multiple sites to get the widest exposure. It's on Gavrio, Election Line, and the SOS Buzz bulletin board. So hopefully anybody who's possibly interested will see it somewhere and apply for it. The board has not seen any of the resumes yet because the process is that HR screens the candidates and only sends us the ones who are qualified per the job requirements. We do not see anybody who is not considered qualified. And then once the posting comes down, we will receive the whole bulk of all the resumes of the qualified candidates. At that point, we will all review the resumes, we'll convene an executive session and decide as a board who we want to select for the first round phone interviews. Debbie and I have agreed to conduct those phone interviews, and then we'll go back to the board and share our feedback, and then make a selection out of those candidates to who's going to advance to the in-person final round. So that's where we are. We've got one more week of the posting, and then we'll move forward as quickly as we can to start the first round phone interviews. Any questions from anyone? Jen, is there anything I missed that you wanted me to cover?
No, I just want to
Okay.
throw it out to anybody else. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts on the process? Great. All right. Well, thank you for that, and hopefully we have a good pool of candidates to look at. Next on our new business is, because with the addition of the CD14 special election, we have to add 6 more meeting dates to our calendar. And it's Exhibit N for anybody who's following along in the agenda. I don't know, CP, do you have that? I think it's just page 1 that would need to go up. And does the board have any questions about what we've added? Just consistent with the elections, we've got the election night meeting at 7 p.m. at the office, the pre-certification at the office, the Friday following, and then certification on Monday in this boardroom, combined with our monthly meeting. Yeah, it'll just be that first page, thank you. So we would have a February 9th regular board meeting, and then we've got the 3 new in March and the 3 in April. And if there's any questions, we can talk about it. Otherwise, we can have a motion to approve the amended election board meeting calendar.
I make a motion that we approve the amended board meeting calendar as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And all those in favor? The motion carries, and we have a new election calendar. Thank you. Next up was our added item for the advance in person schedule for this CD14 special election, and I will let Michael discuss that with us. Everybody should have a copy in their packet, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Elections Office is proposing 4 locations for this upcoming special. North Cobb Senior Center, Ben Robertson Community Center, West Cobb Regional Library, and Boots Ward Recreation Center. We're proposing from February 16th through the 20th. It's Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. February 21st on Saturday from 9 to 5. For the second week, February 23rd through February 27th, Monday through Friday, 8 to 6. We are going to do Saturday and Sunday voting in the second week, February 28th and March 1st. The Saturday will be 9 to 5, and the Sunday will be 12 to 5. And then the final week from March 2nd to March 6th, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7. All 4 locations will have a drop box. I know there was some discussions about confusion on the timing of the last week. If the board has any recommendations to alter this proposal to reflect 8 to 6 for all 3 weeks, just let us know and we'll make it happen.
Is there any discussion?
So we are not going to make use of the elections main office.
No, ma'am. In the email that I sent to the board before the meeting, I created a different map to kind of show where the main office was, and it's kind of a ways out, so that's
Okay.
the reason why we didn't include our main office.
Will we have a Dropbox?
No.
I think we have to have the Dropbox at the main office.
I think so.
Right, Daniel? I believe that is the law, that the office.
It is, well, it's actually the maximum of 5, right?
With-
Plus, you can have one at the main office, or does it say
don't know.
must
It's 1 per
have?
100,000.
1 to 100, so that's 5, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure there's one required at the main office. I'll look at it.
I
This is when
think
I
it
did mine.
may be required.
I thought it said that it was 1 per 100,000 with the main office required, but I could be
I
wrong.
thought the main office always had to be.
I don't know.
No?
I'm looking now.
Okay.
But we do have the 4 at each of the locations, so we would still be within
Yeah.
the 5 to add it if we needed to.
Well,
But they can
we
always-
don't have to add it to make 5. because-
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. We had 109,000 voters? How
It's
mu-
by, it's based on the county. Doesn't switch for
Right.
the election.
Yeah, it does.
It's not, it's based upon the voters in the county.
Well, let's see what
Are
Daniel
you
has.
sure it's not based on the district that the election is held in? Otherwise, why
Daniel-
didn't we have 5 precincts? You know what I'm saying? 5 early voting precincts in other special elections. 4 or 5
I thought
or
it was being
whatever.
so-
We've gotten by with 1 or 2. How do we get by with that? It is by the board boundaries of, I think.
Well, Daniel can verify, but I,
I think Daniel's going to answer that for us.
Not that that pertains here.
It says, it just says they shall establish at least one drop box as a means for absentee mail. It said the board of registrars may establish additional drop boxes subject to the limitations of this code section, may only establish additional drop boxes totaling the lesser of either one drop box for every 100,000 active voters in the county or the number of advanced voting locations in the county. So that first sentence doesn't say you have to have it at the main, it just says you have to have at least one drop box. And it says.
and it's active registered voters in the county.
Yes.
It doesn't define that by election or district. And it's 21-2-382 if anybody's looking.
I mean, it was obviously drafted anticipating countywide and statewide
Right.
elections, but that's just how they have it.
Well, for the record, Beth,
Oh, it says-
that's
oh,
one
well.
of those laws I was talking about.
It says drop boxes established pursuant to this code section shall be established at the office of the Board of Registrars or absentee ballot clerk or inside locations at which advanced voting is taking place. So it doesn't require one, but it says you shall have at least one, and then it names those, either the office of the Board of Registrars or the absentee ballot clerk or inside locations where they're having advanced voting.
Huh. Okay.
I have a question and a comment. Michael, I'm fine with these hours for this special election. Curious, I know that we traditionally get more voters the last week, and we have extended hours. Do we have information on how long that trend, or if that's been a trend? Because my question is this: do we have more voters the last week because people procrastinate, or do we have more voters that week because we have extended hours? Yeah, I know you won't know the answer to
Yeah,
that, but I would
We
love
at
to
it.
see the data, like over time. We're like, oh, well, look at that. More people show up between 7 and 7. Was there a time where we had 7 to 7 during the first week, the second week, and there was still the greater turnout on the end? So I would just like to know if there's a way for us to assess that going forward.
Sure, and in our efforts to create a proposal for the board on the timeline for early voting, this is some of the data that we'll be looking at, and I know
Great.
Marcus has already started to pull that, so we just got to compile it and provide it to you with the proposal so everyone can take a look. But, we're curious too, is, we look at the voting participation and we see, from 7 to 8. In the last week, sometimes there may be 5 or 6 people across the county that vote from 7 to 8 a.m. But, throughout the entire day, it's just the last week and it's just a lot. So we just have to kind of manipulate the data and look at it to see, is it because of last minute? I don't know how we would actually pull that without speaking to the voter on, did you just wait till the last minute, or was it because you couldn't get off work and, there was that extra hour? But we can put something together and provide the board for sure.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Michael. I'm good with this, and, I motion to approve the proposed hours for advanced voting for the special election.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? Any additional discussion? Are we good to vote?
I just want to be clear, we're voting for 8 to 6 the first 2 weeks and 7 to 7 the last week.
Yeah, I'm proposing what is being shown up here on the screen, which is what you just said.
Great, so there's a motion on the floor and a second to approve the AIP hours and locations as presented. All those in favor? Great. The motion carries, and we have an AIP schedule set for CD 14. Thank you all for putting that together. I appreciate it. I believe next up is board member comments. Kendall, do you have any for us today?
I do, actually. Happy New Year, everyone, and I hope everyone had time to recharge, relax, at least a little bit over the holidays. And I know that voters are tired in Cobb County. I want to encourage everyone to stay engaged and to shift our perspectives. Instead of seeing that we're tired of voting, look at it as an opportunity. One that we can appreciate and not a burden. We are blessed to live in a place where this is the beauty of our system, that we get to engage and get to participate. So I want to encourage voters to continue to come out with all of our elections. So now we have a special one coming up, and we have our general elections coming up, and who knows what the rest of the year will bring, but I want to encourage everyone to stay the course and show up and vote.
I'm always on. I actually feel the need, I don't know whether it's appropriate or not, but I would like to just mention that we lost probably one of the most prolific election integrity volunteers, pain in the rear ends in the election world back in November. Her name was Pam Reardon. And I think most of you are familiar with Pam. She showed up to almost every board meeting. She always spoke. She was always, not always, but mostly respectful. And due to family out of country, they finally put Pam to rest on Friday, and I just wanted to acknowledge her passing and just ask that you all put her family in your prayers, because I think it's a difficult time. And coincidentally, the timing, and true to form, Pam's right in the middle of it. She was one of Marjorie Taylor Greene's internal campaign people that knocked on over 10,000 doors for Marjorie when she was first elected. So the timing is kind of appropriate. So anyway, I just wanted to recognize Pam, and I miss her, and I love her, and know she's in a better place.
Thank you, everyone. I don't have any profound words today, but just thank you again to all the staff for all your hard work, and Happy New Year to everyone. I appreciate everyone showing up again, and we have a nice election calendar year ahead of us. So stay engaged. It's a good message. Is there a need for executive session, Daniel?
Not unless there's a burning need based on my legal update.
And there's no need for the board for executive session. Our next meeting is Monday, February 9th at 3 p.m. in this room, but stay tuned. There may be a special called meeting for precinct changes approval. And otherwise, we are adjourned at 4:25 p.m. Thank you.